We'll start in Deuteronomy 10, verses 12. And just to paraphrase it right up front, it says, "What does the Lord require of you?" What does the Lord require of you? I mean, we're called, we're chosen, we have a purpose, we know that, and that is a great and wonderful blessing that a lot of the world does not have. And I've talked of hope in the past, and God, and I really do believe it's God's hope, not our hope. It's God's hope that He's given us, and given us a great indication. But it says, "What does the Lord require of you?" Now, this sounds a little bit strange. Now, this is Moses talking to the children of Israel. So, if you look at other deities at the time, I'm not going to call them gods, I'm going to call them deities, or other things that people worship coming out of Egypt, other nations, what was some of the things that their gods required? Or even in Ezekiel's time. Okay, some of the things that were required is you were to give your children to the crocodiles and the hippos and various other things. You had to cut and slice your body up so that you could bleed. You had to give animal sacrifices and other things, and to a degree that was your living at the time. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but a lot of those were copies, or well, at least animal sacrifices, more from God, but that's not what God required. There were lessons to learn, I agree, and probably many others, and we're not doing those now because Christ is sacrificed His life for us. But think of all those things that you had to do for other gods. Some of them terrible and horrible things. But that's not what God requires for you. So let's turn to Deuteronomy 10. Deuteronomy 10, verses, I'm going to read 12 and 13. I know he's still old school. He still reads a book. But it's still not there. Fingers aren't quite as good as they used to be. There we go. Okay, verses 12 and 13. It says, "And now, O Israel, what does your Lord, your God, require of you? But to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all His ways, and to love Him, and to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, and to keep the commandments of the Lord and His statutes, which I command you to this day for your good." Now, y'all might remember many years ago, Mr. Botha came up and gave a sermon on the least of the statutes and commandments. I don't know if y'all remember what that was, but basically it was as simple as covering your excrement and all the problems that solved. Now, we don't think of that so much in the United States, but in other countries it causes a lot of problems. It causes a lot of problems. Now, we don't think of it, but it's such a simple thing that God did for us. Are there any statutes or laws that God has given us that aren't good, that don't have a good purpose? I mean, even if we just count the 10 Commandments, and here on the Sabbath day, that's a whole other story. We won't go down that path. But how simple is that? But here's the one that I got. It says that you shall serve the Lord your God. Brings up a question, doesn't it? How do we serve the everlasting God? How do we serve the one who owns everything? How do we serve the one who created us and everything? How do we do that? We're going to get into that in a minute. That's my main topic today, is how do we serve God? Now, I'm going to throw a little bit of caveat. Don't throw stuff at me. God serves us. Christ serves us. We're going to get into that in a minute. Now, we're following His example. We are supposed to be like God, like Christ. In Micah 6:8, it says, he has shown you, O man, what is good, how to live. All God's statutes, all his promises, everything that he gives us shows us good. Generally, when we don't do those things, we can look at the world right now, not so good. There's lots of problems out there. And y'all know that Joshua is one of my favorite guys I like to quote. And Joshua 24:13 through 14, it says, as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. Now, Joshua is one of my favorite characters in all the book, all the books. But as for me and my house, we shall serve. Now, he had that in mind. Joshua was a powerful person. Now, granted, I know a lot of y'all can't wait till y'all rule over about 1.5 million people. No? No? That's what you're called for. That's our purpose. I'm not sure Joshua wanted to do it. How would you like to be trained under Moses for 40 years to do that job? And work with the 1.5 million people at the same time. It says, for me and my house we shall serve the Lord. God has given us so much. I joke with the tea and the blackberry tea, but every herb of the field, every tree that is given, everything has a purpose that God has given us. Even the sun in the sky, the moon at night. It controls the waves, the tides, the seasons. What if we just had one season? And I don't mean summer, okay? I'd rather have fall if I get my choice. I would like the temperature to be in the 70 range, you know. But God has a purpose. Everything has its purpose and its time. Everything that he provides for us. And we really need to think about that sometime and to truly be thankful for it. It says in Romans, and I didn't write it down, he says, even if you look at all creation, you cannot deny that God is. But man wanted to worship the creation and not God. And they were unthankful for all that he had given us. And really, we need to be thankful. We need to be thankful for all that God has given us and what he shows us. Think of just the Holy Spirit that he gives you. What if he just gave you that alone? We'd still have a wonderful life. We'd still have a great purpose. We have a great hope, and I state that clearly. We have a great hope that a lot of the world doesn't have. The confusion, the trials, the sufferings. There is a hope that God gives us for that. Let's turn to Psalms 121. Psalms 121, verses 1 through 8. I will lift up my eyes to the hills from whence comes my help. And my help comes from the Lord, who has made heaven and earth. And he will not allow your foot to be moved, and he who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. And the sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will preserve you from all evil, and you shall preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in from this time and forevermore. So God does all these things, and we need to be thankful. So when I look at this, God serves us. Now, feast is coming up. We all know that we're going to picture about being kings and priests during that time period. So what is the job of the king? What is the job of the king? Now, it is written in the Old Testament. I did not look it up specifically. But the job of the king is to protect, to help, to teach, to serve, to lead. He is, at all, the king, right? He is a servant of the people. That's his job. He is to serve the people. And the people serve him. It's a symbiotic relationship. A relationship that we want to look at. So I just want you to think about that a little bit as the feast comes up and as you're picturing those things. When you've got that crown on your head and you got all those robes on your body and you're traveling around in a big fiery chariot. You got 1.5 people that you got to go take care of. Just think about it. And one of the things that it says in the Old Testament in Deuteronomy, it says, when we keep the feast, it's as putting blinders on your eyes so that you can focus. It's to put blinders on your eyes so you're not deviated. You're not turned in this world. You're focused. Keeping the feast, keeping this hope, keeping this idea is a focus that God gives us to that kingdom and where we need to go. God has provided so much for us. So I also want to look at Christ's example, right? So let's turn to Matthew 20. Matthew 20:25 through 28. And Jesus said this of him and to himself and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those that are great exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you, but whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever desires to be first among you, let him be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life for many." This is right before Passover. Right before Passover. And there's much more to say. But he came to serve us and to help us. And are we not supposed to be like him? Now, I also want you to take this in perspective. Just take this into perspective. This is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Creator, our Passover, all the many other names, and I believe there's 26 names that Christ has. Great authority is given to him. He sits at the right hand of God, and he came to serve. He came to serve, to help. Just putting it in perspective, just a little bit. Let's turn to Mark 10. Verses 42 through 45. And Jesus called them to himself and said to them, "You know that those who are considered rulers over the Gentiles lord it over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. Yet it shall not be so among you. And whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever you desires to be first, let him be also last. For even so the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life a ransom for many." And it's a repeat. But why does God repeat stuff? So we understand it. Think about, I wanted to think about how great Christ was. Full of the Holy Spirit. He sits there at this point and realize he washes his servants, he washes the disciples' feet. Even the one who betrayed him. even the one that betrayed him. And that at that time would have been the lowest of the lowest servants. But he gave that to us for an example for us to understand. It's not greater. Now, Christ was Lord, and he knew he was Lord. I mean, he didn't have any doubt about that. But he was also humble and learning. And that is another aspect that we need to look at. So, what is our reasonable service? What is our reasonable service? What is our job as the children of God? What is that job? Let's turn to 1 Peter 4. First Peter 4, 7 through 10. But the end of all things is at hand. Therefore, be serious and watchful in your prayers. And above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without grumbling. As each one has received a gift, minister it to one another as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. Okay? As each one of us has received gifts. And I've reminded the past, he said, Terry, I just got one. Well, use it to the best of your ability. If that's the one great gift that God gave you, use it. Sometimes you might be the best listener in the house, the best comforter in the house. You know, it says that God has put us all together in the right place at the right time for the right purpose. How many of y'all study biology? The human body is an amazing thing. Now, I'm not even counting the rest of creation. Just take the human body. You know, and in that scripture it says, you know, if the little toe hurts or the eye hurts, that's something. Well, are we forgetting the kidneys? The liver? The things that purify the blood in the body? Things we have to have, by the way. It's not things we want to just, get rid of. You know, my brother's lost a leg on one side and probably going to lose his other foot. But he's still going. He watches after a 2-year-old in a wheelchair every day. How many of y'all want to try that job? But just think how important each one of us is. Not to make yourself more glorious, not to make yourself greater in one another's eyes, but humbly each one of us has a purpose. Each one of us is put in the right place at the right time. So if you just got one gift, which most of us have more than one, use it. Feast is coming up. What greater time could you use the gifts that you have to exhort, to uplift? What is it when you judge a matter? The whole point is to point you back to God. Your whole point is to always go back to God. It's just a thought. So, what does God, all those things that God does for us. In Romans, let's start off, go back to Romans 12. I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to paraphrase it just a little bit. But starting in Romans 12, verses 1 through 3, is you're a living sacrifice. I ask, what is your purpose with God? What does he require of you? Is he asking you to sacrifice your life? He's asking you to use your life to help others. Not just yourself. Now, it would be great if all we had to do was to take care of us. And that's a tough enough job as it is, I think, right? It's a tough job. But that's not what we're called for. We're called to help others. It's our reasonable service. In verses 4 through 8, it says, each one of us have a diversity of gifts that is given to us. It is given to us by our Creator, our provider. He has a purpose for that gift for you to use. Verses 9 through 11 is you're serving the Lord. So how do you serve God? I mean, He owns everything, right? He has so many things. How do we serve God? Are we not called to this family? Are we not called to help others? And I don't mean just this family. I mean, I'm a firm believer of teaching God by when you walk by the way and when you go by the gate, your daily life. And you know what? How many of y'all been stopped periodically and somebody just asked you questions? They either see something or God has put them in your path, one or the other. And God works the world. We like to think, I joke and I tell this man, I said, well, how's your corner of the world going? Are you keeping it under control? Just your corner? No, probably not. But doing the best that I can do, I hope. Verses 12 and 13 is distributing to the needs of the saints. Well, hold it. We're children of God. We shouldn't have any problems, right? We shouldn't, no. When you see the need, you fix it or you work for it. You help one another. We're going to get into that in a minute. But still, when you see the need, my dad always had this thing, right? You see a piece of trash on the road, you pick it up. And then I've had other people tell me, well, I didn't put that trash there. I didn't put that trash there. That's not the point. We're caretakers of the planet. Now, I don't mean going into the environmentalists and all. But we're caretakers of the planet. It's just part of our job. Verses 15 and 16, it says, to be of the same mind. And if you read that section, the word that I want to pick out of it is humble. Each one of us should be humble, not thinking of one greater than the other. I might be a liver. I might be cleaning the blood system out. It's not the prettiest place to be, but, that might be my job. Or the gallbladder, or the stomach. Who wants to be under waste management, right? But it's necessary. It all has its purpose. But to be with one another. So here's where I'm kind of going to make a little bit of a switch. The other side. To be served. We all want to serve. We all want to serve. We're called to service. God services us. God helps us. Christ has served us. We want to be like Him. But then there's that time you need help. Now, how many in this room don't need any help? None? Okay, I didn't figure I'd get hands up anyway. But still, we all need help. This is kind of the lesson I learned in breaking my leg. And the nurse asked me one day, because they were asking me, well, I knew how this was going to work and how this was going to work and what procedures were going to happen and what physical therapists were going to have to come in and blah, blah, blah. And I was there for 7 days. And they said, well, how do you know this? I said, well, this is the first time I've been in the bed. There's many times I've been on the other side of the bed that I've helped people, fathers, brothers, so on and so forth. But this, I knew how it worked. Made it simple. Doesn't mean I could get out of the bed by myself. Doesn't mean I could feed myself. Doesn't even mean I could go to the bathroom by myself. Well, eventually in about 7 days. But still, it brought a different perspective. I was very thankful for not only the prayers. I was very thankful for the cards and the phone calls. I was very thankful for the nurses, my wife especially, because she had to put up with me during it. But even when we got home, I couldn't get off the couch by myself, couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. And I was thankful. I was thankful. And we really need to be thankful. And we could give a whole nother sermon on just being thankful. And I'm sure there are many other people who have given sermons on being thankful. But it's perspective. Sometimes we need a little help. Sometimes we need to be humble and ask for the help. Now, that doesn't mean I have to know all your circumstances. It don't mean I have to know any of that. Just that you need a little help. And if I can give it, I will try to do so. Doesn't mean I'll always have all the gifts. Here again, I was just a liver. I didn't, wasn't under the other stuff. But if I can give it, then so be it. But I wanted to, it was an interesting perspective. And of course, breaking of the leg took a second and a half. Took another 7 days to be able to get out of the bed again. So, just perspective. When life happens, when Satan is out to get you, when you're in the lion's den, when you're in the furnace, when the fiery darts are coming, do we ask for help? We do. When all that happens, and we have a whole set of examples in Hebrews 11. Remember what Joshua said in 1:5-6. God tells him, he said, I will not leave you nor forsake you. I will be there for you. Think about it. God provides all those things. Let's turn to Hebrews 13. I'm almost, I got a few more minutes. I want to finish this up. Let's do to Hebrews 13. Because I don't want you to think this is just me, yammering up here. That's a I come from East Texas when I say words like that, right? Hebrews 13, 5 and 6. It says, let your conduct be without covetous or content with, and be content with such things as you have. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we boldly say, our Lord is our helper, and I will not fear what man can do to me. Or Satan. God is your provider. He provides, and he talked earlier, he almost took some of my scriptures a while ago. But God even provides your armor of God. And y'all know I've talked about the armor of God, many different things. How many of y'all, when you have your problem and you're out there and you think, it's just me. It's just me and Satan. We're pulling the sword out. We got the shield going. And it's just me. It's not. God provides your partners, your family. They stand with you with their swords drawn, with their shields around you. You are never alone. Even if it was just God, you'd still be never alone. Now, does it mean we're going to get hurt? Yeah, possibly. It does mean we might get hurt. We might even die. Then what? We get a whole new body. We get a whole new body. One that doesn't hurt, not with broken pins in one leg and a couple of screws. God has given us so much. He provides each other. He puts us in the right place at the right time for the right purpose. I'm a firm believer of that. And his word says that. You have your brothers and sisters that stand with you, and God that stands with you. He provides all these things. And sometimes we do need that help. We need God to help. In Matthew 7 through 11, and Matthew 21 through 22, God says to ask, to knock. Not just for wisdom, but for help. What if you're that help? What if you are that help? Let's turn to finish up. Well, I want to finish up in Colossians, and then that's, yeah, I about got it. Let's go to Colossians. I'll finish up with Colossians 1, 8 through 13. Who also declared to us your love in the Spirit. For this reason we also, since the day we heard it, we do not cease to pray for you and to ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and all spiritual understanding, that you may walk worthily of the Lord, fully pleasing him, being fruitful in every good work and ceasing in the knowledge of God, strengthened with all might according to his glorious power for all patience and long-suffering with joy. Give thanks to the Father who has qualified us to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in the light. And he has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed for us into the kingdom of the Son of his love. Y'all have a great day. Thank y'all.